Hello, welcome back. So this is second video of week 0 C++ refresher under DSA with CPP course. Yeah. So today we'll quickly go through decision making and loops. Yeah. So if I get inside here, this is essentially talks about C++ refresher second hour video. Yeah. Now 4 things we're going to discuss again. Conditional statements like if, else if and else. Switch statement, loops, for loop, and while and do while loops. Yeah. So let's start with if, else if, else. So obviously if your program want to take a decision, right, based on certain condition, then we'll be using this if, else type of thing. Yeah. For example, if you take this example, we are reading a score, a number, and then depending upon the score we are printing whether it is grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D type of thing. Yeah. So here this is the structure of if, else, or if, else, if, else. You can always use if standalone, if and else piece, or if, else, if, else, or you can actually cascade it this way. Yeah. That you have already seen in your C++, right? Now what we are doing here, like we are reading the score, C in score. Now the value is available here. So if score is greater than or equal to 90, then do something like print grade A. Yeah. Else if. So if we're getting into this else if part, that means if is not satisfied, this condition is not satisfied. So that means our score is not greater than or equal to 90. Yeah. That means obviously it should be less than 90. Yeah. That's why we're checking else if score is greater than 80 or greater than or equal to 80. Yeah, we don't need to write else if score is less than 90 and score is greater than or equal to 80. It is not required because less than 90 is already proven here. Like if you're coming here, if the control is coming here, that means this condition has not satisfied. So always control starts with if it is successful, it executes the if block and comes out of this complete block, if else block. Yeah. But since this condition is not met for any reason, if for example our score is, let's say 83, yeah, for example, yeah, then it is not greater than or equal to 90. So obviously it will come into this particular block. Yeah. And look for it. If it is satisfied, absolutely fine, it executes this particular piece and come out here. Otherwise again keep checking for the next thing. So like this your if else block work. Yeah, that is fairly simple thing to understand. But what is more important thing to understand here is you can't have anything between, say for example, if and else if. You can't have another statement here. Yeah, and it's not necessary that you should have else if. You can always just have an if block and then continue. What it means is if that condition satisfied, inside the if block executes and continue. Otherwise inside the if block is skipped and then you continue. Yeah. So this is all basic simple thing which you already aware of. Yeah. Now coming to the switch statement, which is little bit like if else but little bit polished. Yeah. So in this case what we are doing is basically switch on a variable, different values, different possible cases. For example, in this example, we are reading the number, the day number between 1 to 7, assuming that okay 1 is Monday, yeah, and like that 7 is Friday. So user enters number here, which we are going to capture in day, variable day. So switch on day. Yeah. Now if the value which is entered is 1, the case 1 is going to be the entry point. So it's like, you can imagine, it's like writing if day equal to 1, then do this. Else if day equal to 2, do this. Yeah. But the difference between if else and break is, for example, if you run this program and given 3 as an input, right, then switch on variable day, that is we know that day now contains 3. These two cases are not checked and we are directly going into case 3, execute this. That's it. Yeah, that's the advantage of having switch. But then if if your switch, for example, in this case, right, we're reading a number and there is a possibility of 100 different values this score can have, yeah, and whatever we're checking here is like a range. So this is more readable if you're doing kind of like range type of value, and switch case is going to be more like specific thing, yeah. But one important thing to understand here is the keyword break, right? If you don't use break, what may happen? For example, let's imagine I have not used break in any of these cases, yeah. Now assume our entered day is 3, yeah. In that case 3 is matching, so it prints this particular thing, and assuming that there is no break, yeah, then the control will continue, like it will print 4th case, it will print 5th case, 6th case, 7th case, because you don't have break anywhere. Assume that you don't have break. Here in this case break is there, so basically after printing this particular case output, yeah, because break is there, break will actually take you outside the switch block, yeah. So break is very important, that's why we normally call it a switch break type of thing. But now another important thing is, what if day I entered is, let's say instead of 1 through 7 I entered 10, for example, yeah. Now none of these cases matches, right? Then the default case will get in. So it's not necessary that you should always have default, yeah, but we normally prefer the way we put an else block, right? In case of if none of these conditions meet, at least the else block will meet, yeah. That way you can have a default, yeah, and if nothing is basically matched, the default will take care of it, yeah. But ensure that default is your last case, yeah, that's important thing. And after default, okay, we don't really need a break here, but it's just for the convention point of view, yeah. This is how your switch actually works, yeah. Now moving on, the loops. So whenever your program needs the same thing to be done multiple times, you use a loop. So you try to put the control in a loop till a condition is met. Very important thing is the condition should ultimately meet, so that your loop should exit, yeah. Loop should always exit, otherwise it will become an infinite loop, and then system will keep on executing within that loop, yeah. So first is for loop. Very simple thing, the structure is very simple thing. For an initialization, condition, and increment or decrement type of thing. So in this case we are trying to print 1 to 10. So variable I is initialized to 1 as part of the initialization block. Condition is this. Until the condition is true, the loop will continue. Once the condition becomes false, the loop will come out, yeah. So I is starting with 0, I less than or equal to 10, yes, 1 is less than or equal to 10 is true, yeah. You execute this and then increment the value of I. Now I becomes 2, it is still less than 10, execute this, and this is how you keep continuing. Once I becomes 10, 10 is still less than or equal to 10 is met, yeah. You print this, but the moment I becomes 11, 11 is neither less than nor equal to 10, hence the condition becomes false, you come out of it, yeah. So this is how the for loop works, yeah. Now that's why your output is 1 to 10 here, yeah. Now very similar thing even while and do while can do. All that is different is their structure. So while just takes a condition, and then basically it's like you have to do the initialization outside, increment or decrement outside, it just takes a condition, yeah, that's it. Whereas do while is exactly similar to while, except that do does one loop first and then checks the condition. That's why we call it as an exit condition check, while a regular while is an entry condition check, yeah. So I can actually, instead of do while, I could have written while number not equal to 0 and then bracket open and close and the content inside it, yeah. In that case, if number is not equal to 0, the condition is checked. If condition is true, then you enter and start working inside the loop. So do while always guarantees one time execution of whatever is there inside this loop block, yeah. While possible that the condition is not met the first time itself, so while doesn't execute anything if condition is not met. Yeah, that's a difference you should know. Yeah, and few points to remember for interview preparation point of view. Use always curly braces so that you know like what is the loop content. For example, curly braces, even though this is one statement, yeah, it is better to use curly brace. Normally people say if it is just a single statement, you can actually skip curly braces. Yeah, it is unnecessary confusion from interview point of view. Always use curly braces wherever possible. It's easy to read. Yeah, be cautious with switch. Forgetting break causes fall through. Yeah, that we discussed. Loops are critical for array based DSA programs because whenever there is an array, we have multiple elements inside the array, and we have to loop through every element in the array in most of the DSA programs. So loops are critical, and most of the time we use for loop. Yeah. Avoid infinite loops in while, do while type of thing. So these things you'll have to understand properly. But in simple words, you should be very proficient with if else if. We always use this switch break, yes, and then loop. Most of the time we use for loop. While, do while, yeah, you should at least know the difference between it. Yeah, so that's about this particular part 2. In the next video we'll see the part 3. Yeah, bye.